What would you do if an 8-year-old boy walked into the ER alone during a snowstorm, carrying a crying baby in his arms, and no adult in sight? When the hospital staff tried to contact his parents, what they uncovered was far more heartbreaking than anyone expected. Listen to today's heartfelt story of a child in need who still became an only lifeline for his baby sister. Please do subscribe to our channel and share where you're listening from. Maple Falls, Connecticut, was drowning under an ice storm. In the cold fluorescent haze of the ER, Mary Ann Brooks, veteran hospital receptionist and former social worker, savored a rare lull in the night shift. That peace shattered when the sliding doors parted at 9:47 p.m., letting in a blast of wind and a boy no older than 8. He was bundled in a coat too thin for the weather, a knit hat dripping sleet, and his arms trembled as he carried an infant car seat. "Please, I need help. My sister won't stop crying," he said. The boy introduced himself as Eli Carter. The baby, 6-month-old Lila, lay red-faced and feverish. Mary Ann's instincts kicked in. Something wasn't right. While the pediatric staff took Lila in, Mary Ann gently questioned Eli. His responses were mature beyond his years. His mother worked nights. His father was busy. He had walked from Maplewood Terrace, over 2 miles away, through a sleet storm. He'd brought formula, diapers, a change of clothes, everything a parent would think to bring. Everything but the parent. Calls to the numbers he gave went unanswered. The doctors diagnosed Lila with a severe ear infection, noting that she was dangerously feverish and irritable, but thankfully not yet in critical condition. They praised Eli for his awareness and quick action, pointing out that his efforts might have prevented a much more serious outcome. Despite the medical team's reassurances, Mary Ann couldn't shake her unease. The image of the boy arriving alone in the middle of a storm haunted her. She had worked in social services long enough to recognize the subtle signs of a child carrying a weight far beyond his years. Hospital rules dictated contacting CPS, but Dr. Patel agreed to wait until morning. Mary Ann offered to drive the children home. Maplewood Terrace was as bleak as the weather. The building reeked of mildew. The elevator was broken. The door to apartment 3C was scuffed and dented. "You don't have to come in," Eli said quickly. "I have my key." "I need to explain Lila's medication to your parents," Mary Ann insisted. Inside, the apartment was dark and cluttered. The smell of stale smoke and dirty dishes clung to the air. A man stirred from a recliner. Doug Carter. His breath stank of whiskey. "What the hell's going on?" he mumbled. When Mary Ann explained, he barely reacted. "We're fine here. I got this." Eli looked small as he clutched his sister. "You call me if anything happens," Mary Ann told him, pressing her card into his hand. 5 days later, as snow fell heavily again, Mary Ann looked up from her station at 11:23 p.m. Her heart sank. It was Eli, soaked and shivering, this time without a car seat, just Lila wrapped in a bundle against his chest. "She won't wake up properly," he said, voice trembling. Lila burned with fever. Her breathing was ragged. As the pediatric team rushed her into a room, Eli stood frozen. "Your parents?" Mary Ann asked gently. "Mom's not feeling good. Dad's not home. I left a note in case they come back." The phrasing chilled her. Dr. Emily Harris met Mary Ann with grave news. Lila had a severe sinus infection, dehydration, early signs of malnutrition. The earlier antibiotics hadn't been administered properly. She also had a painful diaper rash and hadn't been changed regularly. "I need to report this," the doctor said. "Let me talk to him first," Mary Ann replied. Eli sat in the waiting area, feet dangling, dark circles under his eyes. She sat beside him. "Can you tell me the truth now?" she asked. Eli lowered his eyes, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom doesn't get out of bed. She says her heart hurts. She just lies there most days, even when Lila cries or needs to be fed. Dad goes out. He says he's trying to find work, but sometimes he's gone for days. He doesn't always come back when he says he will." Mary Ann felt the air grow heavier. "And who takes care of you?" she asked gently, watching his small fingers twist together in his lap. He glanced up at her, confusion flickering in his eyes, as if the question didn't quite make sense. "I do," he said after a pause. "I take care of Lila, too. I've been doing it since she came home from the hospital. I don't mind. I just want her to be okay." With help from night guard Joe Miller, Mary Ann reviewed security footage. Both nights there was Eli, walking through snow alone carrying Lila, once with a car seat, once with just his arms. "Twice in 1 week," Joe said softly. "Where are the damn parents?" Mary Ann had already begun looking into it. Diane Carter had been fired from Silverbrook Care Center 3 months ago. Doug had been unemployed since Harborline Textiles shut down and now spent time and money at betting parlors. Back at Maplewood Terrace, Mary Ann knocked. An elderly neighbor let her in. "You here for the Carter kids? 'Bout time." Diane Carter finally opened the door, looking hollow. Her robe was stained, her hair matted. The apartment was worse than before, diapers on the floor, mold on dishes. "They're sleeping," she said. "They're at the hospital," Mary Ann replied. "Your son walked there. Again." In a storm, Diane collapsed on the couch, her body folding in on itself like a wilted flower. "Everything went dark after the baby came," she murmured, voice trembling with exhaustion. "At first I thought it was just tiredness. I mean, all new moms get tired, right? But then the days got heavier and I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Lila would cry, and I'd just lie there, staring at the ceiling, hoping someone else would pick her up." Mary Ann noticed her hands trembling slightly, her lips chapped, and the dark hollows beneath her eyes. She hadn't seen a doctor. No one had come to check on her. She barely registered that her children were gone, her mind trapped in a fog so dense it had erased reality itself. She blinked, slowly processing Mary Ann's words, and asked again, barely above a whisper, "They're not here. Eli and Lila?" "No," Mary Ann said softly, her voice heavy with compassion. "They're at the hospital. Your son brought your daughter through the storm. Alone." Mary Ann called an ambulance for Diane. While waiting, she examined the apartment. Amid the filth, Eli's touch was everywhere. Formula labeled with precise times, bottles cleaned and aligned neatly beside the sink, baby clothes folded in piles organized by size. Every surface he could control bore the stamp of his effort. Wiped clean bibs on a hanger, baby toys sanitized and stacked in a corner, and feeding supplies tucked into a plastic tote that doubled as a changing table. In his room, a small spiral-bound journal sat atop a stack of school books. The journal detailed Lila's daily health and routines like a nurse's log. December 5, Lila drank all bottles. No fever. Smiled a lot. Mom stayed in bed all day. Dad came home but left when they started fighting. I gave Lila her teething medicine. She liked the music on the mobile. December 12, Lila cried a lot today. She only drank half her bottles. I checked her temperature. Warm but not super hot. I think she's getting sick again. Mom came to the kitchen for a second but went back to bed after coughing. No food in fridge. I gave Lila the last banana. Each entry reflected a desperate effort to maintain normalcy. They were the words of a boy doing everything he could to keep his sister safe in a world where no one was looking after either of them. There were drawings of superheroes, completed homework in color-coded folders, a certificate for perfect attendance. The crib was unused. Lila had been sleeping beside Eli. Child Protective Services stepped in swiftly, recognizing the urgency and severity of the situation. Dr. Harris arranged for Lila to be admitted for extended pediatric care, ensuring she would receive proper nutrition, hydration, and round-the-clock monitoring. Meanwhile, Eli was led to a small room where he was given a hot meal, his first warm food in days, and a fresh set of clothes donated by the hospital's emergency closet. Though reluctant at first, he slowly began to let his guard down under the calm presence of Mary Ann, who stayed by his side the entire time. She read aloud from a children's book she'd found in the waiting area, her voice soothing in the sterile silence. Eli listened quietly, occasionally glancing toward the hallway that led to Lila's room, his eyes flickering with both worry and hope. Mary Ann didn't speak of tomorrow, or what the caseworker might decide. For now, she just sat with him, a quiet guardian in the chaos, offering the one thing he'd lacked for far too long, someone who truly saw him and stayed. As snow blanketed Maple Falls in a soft, deceptive quiet, one truth rose clearly from the silence. Eli had held his fragile world together with hands too small for the burden he bore, and a heart far too big for his age. With each bottle prepared, every diaper changed, and every fever soothed, he had stitched together a patchwork of safety and love for his sister in a home that had none to offer. He had been more than a brother. He had been her nurse, her protector, her entire world. And now, at last, someone had truly seen him. Not just his actions, but his pain, his patience, his silent cries for help tucked between pages of a journal no one had read, until now. And this time, before the darkness could swallow him too, help had come, not in the form of stern caseworkers or forms to fill out, but in the warmth of a woman who stayed, listened, and chose to act. This time, the storm hadn't won. If you were in Mary Ann's shoes, would you have waited, or called Child Protective Services right away? And what would you say to a boy like Eli, who's been forced to grow up far too soon? Also, what do you think about the darkness postpartum leads new mothers to? Do you think they should seek help